This message is brought to you by
Khadijah.
STDs are infections that can be passed during vaginal, anal, or oral sex. Some STDs are carried in semen, pre-cum, vaginal fluids, and blood. Others can be passed just from genital skin-to-skin contact. STDs are super common, and they usually don't show any symptoms, so lots of people don't even know they have one.
Excuse me.
Sexually transmitted diseases, STDs, have been around for a long time. Because of the fact that modern medicine had yet to be invented, the lack of awareness and knowledge contributed to the spread of these diseases. There were seldom any treatments. In medieval times, syphilis and gonorrhea were all the rage. One theory suggests that syphilis was spread by crew members who picked up the disease on the voyages led by Christopher Columbus.
We interrupt this program to bring you
Herpes!
A full explanation of herpes. Herpes, or also known as genital herpes, is caused by two types of viruses. The viruses are called herpes simplex type 1 and herpes simplex type 2. For this wonderful video we are going to be looking at the second one. The first mentions of herpes date as far back as the Greek and Roman times. Herpes was first formally recognized by Hippocrates, 460 to 370 BCE, who wrote about the symptoms of herpes lesions. Later on, in Roman times, the Roman Emperor Tiberius tried to quell an oral herpes outbreak by banning kissing at public celebrations, events, and ceremonies. In 1884, American dermatologist Louis During discovered that herpes was different from eczema and pemphigus. In 1893, French scientist Émile Vidal proved that herpes was transmitted from one person to another. In 1896, German physician Paul Unruh created a way to differentiate herpes from syphilis under a microscope. The last part is pretty important, seeing how before it was impossible to tell the difference between the two.
What causes herpes? It's a virus called herpes simplex. It is contagious and can be passed from person to person through direct contact. HSV2 is contracted through forms of sexual contact with the person who has HSV2. What forms of sexual contact? Let me demonstrate with this here adorable teddy bear. Places are downtown region, Main Street, and Gate.
With me.
How does one catch herpes? You can get herpes by having vaginal, anal, or oral sex with someone who has the disease. The fact of the matter is, that the fluids found in herpes sores carry the virus. So anyone who comes in contact with those fluids can get infected. There doesn't need to be a visible sore to get infected. Your partner may not know he or she is infected because the virus can be released through your skin and spread the infection to your sex partner.
Roughly 3.7 billion people, minus 67% of the world's population, are infected with type 1 herpes simplex virus, HSV1. The growing problem, however, comes from the fact that HSV1 can be sexually transmitted and cause genital herpes too. About 1 out of 6 people in the United States aged 14 to 49 have genital herpes caused by the HSV2 infection. Genital herpes statistics are usually quoted at closer to 25% for women and 10% for men, but most of these people don't even know they have it. Texas checked in at number 11 on the list of states with the highest rates of reported STDs in 2013, according to new data released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Killeen, Texas is number 9 for STDs in the country. That is kind of bad. HSV2 infection is more common in women, approximately 1 out of 4 women, than in men, almost 1 out of 5. This may be because male-to-female transmission is more efficient than female-to-male transmission. The PCR blood test can tell if you have genital herpes even if you don't have symptoms. The PCR test looks for pieces of the virus's DNA, cell culture. During the exam, your healthcare provider can take a sample of cells from a sore and look for the herpes simplex virus under a microscope.
There is no cure for herpes. So that means that you are screwed. Just kidding. There are medicines that can prevent or shorten outbreaks.
The only way to be totally sure you won't get an STD is to never have any kind of sexual contact with another person. But the reality is most of us do have sex at some point in our lives. So the best way to help prevent STDs is to have safer sex. Safer sex means using condoms, female condoms, and dental dams every single time you have vaginal, anal, and oral sex. These barriers help block body fluids and some skin-to-skin contact that can spread STDs.
Herpes is a virus that affects the genital area, the vulvas and vagina in women and the penis in men. It does not seem to cross over into other reproductive areas and has little if any effect on a man's sperm production nor a woman's ability to conceive.
Behind your back.